All right, this is the second part from lecture 9, and you might note that I've changed the dimensioning a little bit. I just like this dimensioning better. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start by making this entire sketch, and we'll utilize this sketch a few times. So let me just make this a little bit smaller so that we can push it over here to the side, and we'll zoom in on just the part that we want right now. So this is going to be made on the right plane. My units are in inches, so I'll create a new part. Verify that my units are in the inch pound second, and I'm going to left click on the right plane and say sketch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take advantage of that there's symmetry here. So I'm going to create a center line that's 3.76 inches tall. And I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3 solid lines that are all going to be midpoint lines. So I'm going to go midpoint, make them horizontal. So this is the top line. This is the bottom. Oh, I didn't make it midpoint, so let me make it a midpoint line. And make sure I get it horizontal. And we'll do one more midpoint line to get the last bit there. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is put those dimensions in. So the total height will be 3.76. The dimension for the top line is 2.25. The dimension for the bottom one I don't know, but the dimension for this one is going to be 3.25. Now I need to put 2 additional lines in because you have this little flat piece that's cut in the middle. Let me show you what's going on here. So maybe over here you can see that this flat piece needs to be defined. So there's 2 additional dimensions. There's this 0.25 dimension and this 0.63 dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a center line, horizontal midpoint line, 1 lower down, and I'll do the same thing at a point that's higher. All of these are going to have the same length as this one, so I'll use Control and select both those lines, make them equal, and do the same thing here and make those equal. And now I'm going to put those dimensions in. So we have a dimension, let me zoom in here. So this dimension will be 0.63. The overall height of this line is going to be 1.13, and the location of this line is at 0.25. So now we can see that my sketch it says it's underdefined because this line, let me grab it, is still not set, but I'm going to have to set that with the angle once I draw the rest of my lines in. So I'm going to go to my line tool. I'll click from here to this, coming down. I don't need to go click and click, just clicking here is fine, and finishing the line. I'll do the same thing on the other side. So now I have a closed loop, and I just need to set the dimension to be from here to here. So clicking those 2 lines sets my angle to be 115 degrees. And because this was a midpoint line, it automatically makes the angle the same on the other side. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit, and we see that the total length of the object is going to be 7.38 inches, and then only this other piece is 4.63. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Features, Extruded Boss, And for my contour, I'm going to select this bottom contour. I'll flip the direction using the arrow here and set that to be 7.38. Okay, but what happened to the rest of my sketch now? And I want to be able to put in this piece on top. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the arrow next to Boss Extrude 1 to show my sketch. And now that that sketch is selected, I can do another extruded boss. In this case, I'm going to select the top contour. And what I want to do is I'm going to flip the direction. So I go that way. And I need to offset it by a distance of 4.63. So where I do that, so instead of extruding directly from the sketch plane, which is where the default is, I'm going to select offset and set that distance to being 4.63. Now the offset went in the wrong direction, or the opposite from what I want, so I'll flip the arrow here. So here's the distance, 4.63. The extrude direction is correct, but instead of going blind, I want it to go through all, so it just extends past to the end of the part. And I'll say OK. Great. So now what I can do is, let's see, there's this little cutout in the back. Let me go ahead and put that one in. I'm going to do that on the front plane. I'll say sketch, and let me just change the display style to white so you can see a little bit better. I'll do a corner rectangle from here, and I'm actually going to go up because I know that the height is 0.88 and it actually corresponds to something over here, which is 1.13 minus the 0.25. Yes. So, though it's not obvious, so let me just prove to it. So if I put this dimension in, I want that to be 0.5, and then the height here, it comes out to being 0.88. But since it's already been defined, I'm being asked, do I want to make this dimension driven, which is what I do. I don't want to make it a driving dimension. So it comes in, notice the dimension is a little bit grayer than the traditional driving dimension. So I'm going to go features, I'm going to go extruded cut, and what I want to do is through all, but I want to do through all both, so it goes through both sides. So I'll say OK, and you can see that the cut is now going all the way through my part. The next thing I want to do, oh, went to the wrong piece, is I want to zoom in here, and I want to put in the 3 holes, the 2 holes in the slot. So I'm going to make a sketch, and I'll make it onto this plane here. And what I'm going to do is I'm again going to create a center line from the center point of this line, of this top line. I can go all the way to the bottom, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to use a center point slot. To draw the top one, and I'm going to actually use a midpoint line, horizontal, for construction to locate those 2 circles. I know that this line should be exactly the height of this corner, so I will, holding my control key down, I'll select the line and the vertex that defines that corner and make those coincident, so I don't have to put in an additional dimension of that 0.63. I'll then put in a circle at the end point of each of those. These 2 circles both have the same diameter of 0.88, so I'll select one of the circles, hold my control key down, select the other circle, let go of the control key, and from the flyout window, I'll say make those equal to each other. So now setting the dimensions, I just need this one to be 0.88. The width between them is 1.5. So I'll select both of those and set that distance to being 1.5. The distance between, or the width of the slot will be 1.25. The height of the slot is 1.88. That's this dimension over here, so 1.88. And the radius of the slot itself is 0.37. So I'm fully defined here. I can go back to my shaded view. I can do features, extruded cut, and you'll note that it says through all both. I could leave it like that, but you see that it's going in two directions. If I don't want it to be like that, I can just say through all and turn off direction 2. You'll see that direction 2 is also through all, so I'll just say turn that off. You don't really need to, it's a little bit cleaner, and I'll say through all. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is we need to put in this slots. So one slot goes to a distance, the bigger slot goes down to a depth of 0.25, and the interior slot goes all the way through the part. So let me zoom in so we can see those. I'm going to do a sketch onto this face. I'm just going to use a center line to locate the location of those slots. I'm going to use the straight slot tool, selecting this point and just any other point here, just as long as I keep it horizontal. And I'm still in the slot tool, so I'll just put another slot exactly on top of the existing slot, and we'll put in those dimensions. So this has a radius of 1. The interior one has a radius of 0.375, and the width of the slot, or the length of the slot rather, I'll make it as 1.13, and the distance from this edge to that edge is 1.75. You might note that for this dimension it says 0.38, but I put in 0.375. So if you want to actually show that, if I click on that dimension, you can see over here on the property manager that it actually shows up as being 0.375. So I can change the document's only showing 2 decimal places. I can come in here and control that, and I can set that to show 3 decimal places. So I'm just overriding the document property. Alright, so now that I have that done, I want to do an extruded cut. So let me go Features, Extruded Cut. I'm going to go into my Select Contours. I'll just select the middle one, and I'll make that to go through all. And I'll reuse this sketch, and I'll do an extruded cut. Again, I'll select contours. I'm just going to select the outer contour, and I want that depth to go to a blind depth of 0.25. Alright, so let's zoom out here and see if everything looks good. So that's what it should look like. If I hit Control 7 here, I get the same shape. So let's double check what under our Evaluate tab what our mass properties are. So this gives me a volume of 34.39 cubic inches and a surface area of 120 0.10 square inches. If I wanted to, I could right click on the material here. Let me say I'll make it plain carbon steel. You'll see that the appearance changes a little bit, and if I go to my mass properties, it now has a density that corresponds to that material of plain carbon steel, and the mass of the object would be 9.69 pounds. Okay, so that finishes that second part from lecture 9.